Thank you all very, very much, and a very good evening to all of you. First of all, a big thanks to Prem and to Anita to take the leap of faith to allow me to come and speak to all of you, because these are sensitive subjects, and it's not every day that you get to discuss this in an open forum. So first of all, thanks to the team at Cafe Mutual, and I think I just realized this that I've been speaking on this topic now for close to 10 years. So even while I was selling mutual funds, I was speaking about this, and it just dawned on me that how important and critical this is becoming for us, not just as mutual fund advisors or distributors or managers of money, but also as citizens of this country. So what I'm going to do over the next 30, 32 odd minutes is take you through what my assessment is all about in terms of how global events and local events are shaping thoughts, are shaping the way this country is headed. And finally, it's all about money. Finally, it does come down to money, economics, and capital markets, because I do realize that this is the community which manages money. It has to come down to what it means for all of us. But first, nation, पहले nation, उसके बाद बाकी सब कुछ. Because अगर India ही safe नहीं रहेगा, then how can you expect the capital markets to be safe? Imagine if we were having this conversation in some part of the world, probably in Ukraine. They're not bothered about their capital market. They're only bothered about their safety. And literally that same thing happened like 15 days ago. The worry on capital markets had evaporated. What you were worried about is, I hope there are no missiles flying over my head. Am I right? So I'm just going to pause on that thought, and I'm going to take you through some slides that I put together. Can I get my slides, please? So while the slides are coming up, what I'll do is just think about this. Something like the topic I'm going to speak about has become mainstream. If you look at dinner table conversations, which you now have at home, if you have look at conversations that are taking place within families and taking place, between colleagues, it's all boiling down to what's happening globally, what's happening within the country. And I think that's what is making geopolitics and conversations mainstream. And with that background, what I wanted to do was actually spend some time, like I said, on parts of what I had spoken about, let's say about 6 years ago, some parts which I had spoken about 4 years ago, and some parts that have just happened as we speak. So I'm going to, yeah. So this is, like I said, I think this has now become pretty much center of conversation, center of life. If you don't believe me, what I'm going to show you is in कोई particular sequence नहीं है. ये सिर्फ 4 साल का मैंने एकदम ऐसे ही लिख दिया. So आप ये मत देखिएगा कि डेट क्या है वगैरह वगैरह. But just have a look at this list. छोटा लिस्ट नहीं है. ये 4 साल में ये सब हो चुका है. COVID, in my opinion, was a bioweapon that has been used. But so we've had COVID. We've had things like Hong Kong में protests हो रहे थे. The students had come in lakhs. Students in Hong Kong had come on the streets protesting against Chinese government, and it was squashed. No one has ever heard of it after 2019. Completely gone. After that, we'd had, think of it, China's debt traps. Look at our neighborhood. Do you know Nepal has already had 9 prime ministers in less than 10 years? How many of you remember the scenes in Sri Lanka where, in the presidential palace, the people were jumping into the swimming pool? That's happened like literally about a year ago. Chinese debt traps. 60 साल में जो नहीं हुआ वो भी हो गया. We lost 20 soldiers in a fight which had no bullets, it had no missiles, it did not even have something known as maybe like a weapon. 20 soldiers died on that night with bare hands. And so 20 Indian soldiers died. Intelligence reports now suggest that approximately about 110, 115 Chinese soldiers died. This is in Galwan on one night. With bare hands, they fought. So you've now had a situation where we had a kinetic war, literally a couple of weeks ago. And then we had this with China in Galwan in 2021. So I'm just sequentially kind of just running through what all has happened. We've had Balakot airstrikes, etc. And then जो 20 साल में नहीं हुआ, वो फिर हो गया. Taliban has come back running Afghanistan. The Americans have left. The Americans just took one fine day, they decided to leave, and they went. You'd be shocked to know that they left back billions and billions worth of arms and equipment. They didn't take it back. They left choppers, they left missiles, they left sophisticated machine guns. You know why they didn't take it back? Because the cost of taking it back would have been higher than the cost of leaving it. So now the Taliban is well armed, well fed, and it runs the government. All of this in less than 4 years. And so we've had trade conflicts. Every conversation I go to and I talk and I listen to fund managers, they only talk about trade war. So there's this China-America trade wars with 170 countries, etc., etc. So all of that conversation is trade war. Again, in the last 1 year. But what people have also missed out is cyber warfare. Have you noticed what has happened in Spain 2 weeks ago and even till about 1 week ago? Entire electricity, all of the electricity in all of Spain and Portugal shut down. And 3 days ago, entire telecommunication network down, zero. No communication in all of Spain for like probably 4 to 5 hours. That's debilitating. Imagine something like that to happen at the NSC. By the way, NSC is one structure which gets hit by cyber attacks at least 200 to 250 times a day. They know how to protect themselves. But imagine if the NSC was to shut down for 3 hours or 2 hours. You can imagine what will happen to investors. And then finally, जो हुआ ही नहीं after World War II, वो भी हो गया. Russia, Ukraine, and Israel, Hamas. Kind of people say that after World War II, those are the closest to wars that people have seen. Certainly Russia, Ukraine has now gone on for 3 years. It's been one of the costliest battles in the world. And then came Operation Sindoor. All of this is less than 4 years. So how can it not impact your lives? How can it not be part of conversation? And how can it not be part of portfolio construction? One of the things I always tell everyone is that we are not in the business of managing money. We're in the business of managing risk. And the pieces that I'm highlighting are risks. That doesn't mean money won't be made. This is the only country, and I'll probably talk about it right at the end. This is the only country that offers serious wealth creation opportunities. But the risks exist. And so this one slide I put together after, studying this a little more closer than certainly in the last few months, I put these slides together and I realized that kinetic war, like actual war with tanks and weapons, etc., is just one part of warfare that is going on in the world. So between cyber, water wars, for the first time, India is in the process of, taking water wars seriously to the enemy. The Indus Water Treaty, of which you will hear a lot over the next decade, is something that should have been sorted out 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's finally being done. So water wars, trade wars, cyber wars, and the one piece that you will hear every day is psychological operations and narrative. Someone just asked me out here that while Sindoor was super successful, the enemy nation has portrayed it to be super, super successful and someone's become field marshal. That's psychological operations, media wars, narrative wars. And so we are all part of it. And I'm just leaving all of this out here for you to absorb the fact that each of these happen every day and we're all pretty much part of it. The final piece I want to tell you as far as, warfare is concerned, I just want to let you know that the final frontier is going to be algorithm versus algorithm, which is the war for semiconductors. That is the ultimate format for which everyone is playing. And the good news is that the government of India is also now figured out that we cannot be part of the semiconductor future, which is why through the PLI scheme, etc., so much is happening on nanochips and semiconductors. So that's what has that led to? It's kind of led to some. I mean, look at the world right now. You've got interest rates shot up in the West. So what did Trump win his election on? मैं महंगाई कम करूंगा, मैं आपको रोजगार दिलाऊंगा, और मैं घुसपैठियों को नहीं लाने दूंगा. That sounds like an Indian election to me. मैं महंगाई कम करूंगा, घुसपैठियों को नहीं आने दूंगा और आपके लिए रोजगार पैदा करूंगा. Exactly the words Trump said, and he won his election. Imagine a developed nation and a developing nation fighting election on the same front, on the same parameters. And so the reason for that is, for the first time in 50 years, this generation of Americans and Europeans has seen inflation. They've seen hike in interest rates. The piece that you all should read more about is what's happening in the debt markets in the US. So obviously all of what I'd spoken about is starting to lead to some concern that supply chains, interest rates, inflation is starting to kind of take a little bit of grip in the world. And so my humble submission to everyone would be, start looking at what the bond markets are telling us. The equity markets may not give us the full picture. Start hearing to what the fixed income guys are talking. So here I start a little bit on couple of minutes on Sindoor, and what I really want to spend time on is why did we reach here in the first place? This story kya hai? As in, like, why have we come to this juncture in our existence at all? But let me just explain Sindoor in a minute. There's just one slide. My disclaimer, जो भी मैं बोलूँगा गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के सोर्सेस के भरोसे ही बोलूँगा या फिर द मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस. Everything else is not verifiable. So everything that I speak, at least from now onwards, has some verifiable source with the government of India. So this is, it looks a little pixelated. So this is Sindoor in one slide. All the red dots are terror bases that were struck on the first night. All the yellow dots are military installations, air bases, or air defense equipment struck on the second, third, and fourth. Almost all of them are on the last day, last 25 minutes. So if someone was looking at TV on the last day of the conflict between 12:30 to 2:30, most yellow dots have appeared in that 25 minutes, because at that time, India had something known as escalation dominance. It was complete control of the skies, which is what led to such a dramatic amount of hits across the length and breadth of Pakistan, which, by the way, happened all the way from Karachi to at a place called Skardu, which is in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It's the length and breadth of the nation, almost across 1,800 kilometers. So that's some serious damage. Let me explain what I mean by serious damage. It doesn't mean that everything hit can never be recovered. It's not like that. Airfield like a defense airfield is a very big area, upwards of 10 kilometers. So one missile won't destroy it. But the psychological damage it does is beyond belief. So this has been a very, very successful operation. At some stage, this will take 6 months of reading and research. Maybe next time, whenever Cafe Mutual is doing their event, I'll come and kind of speak more about Sindoor. But why did we reach where we reached? And which is why I want to spend some time in explaining कि हम यहाँ पहुँचे कैसे. So this is the map of India. Pretty much political map of India. सबने देखा है, इसमें कोई confusion नहीं है. So it has everything. अपने पास सब कुछ है जो किसी के पास नहीं है. एक ओशन भी अपने नाम पे है और इसको तो बुलाते ही सब कॉन्टिनेंट है. मतलब सब कॉन्टिनेंट बुलाते हैं, तो इट जस्ट शोज कितना कॉम्प्लेक्स देश है. Sometimes I funnily call India more complex than Europe, rightly so, because you can still have some parity between, France and Germany are different, but there's still some bit of commonality. But between Uttar Pradesh and Kerala, big difference. So it's not an easy country to run. It's a complex country. We also have something which the world doesn't have, not very friendly neighbors. So that's Pakistan out here. That's the Western Front, and that's China on the Eastern Front. Remember, we never had borders with China up until 1951. our borders were only with Tibet. Till one fine day, the Chinese rolled in their tanks in 1951. And so, after 1951, we've had borders with China. And उसके बाद से ही conflict है. आप मेरे को यहाँ पे अगर if someone reads history and if someone is interested in history, in 1,000 years, we've never had conflict with Tibetans. We never had conflict. But after independence, this country, after independence, has already fought 6 wars between the two friends, between Pakistan and China. So obviously, every decade we're fighting a war. 47, 62, 65, 71, Kargil 99, and 2025. So you're literally fighting one full war every 10 years. So the piece I wanted to highlight is Jammu and Kashmir. That's Jammu and Kashmir. That's where the real, that's the boiling point. I'll try and explain to you कि ये पंगा क्या है. But before I do that, this is the only one time I'll take you to Pakistan. After that, no conversation. At least I will try my best not to talk about this country. Oh, okay, there's a reason why. A, it's irrelevant and immaterial, but it's also become the 24th province of China. You'll be shocked to know that Karachi Stock Exchange is 40% owned by the Chinese, 40%. That's how much it's become a vassal state of China. Anyway, this is Pakistan. I showed you the map of India, but this is Pakistan. I want to highlight 2 things to all of you. All of you been hearing Baluchistan? I want you to imagine the size of Baluchistan. Itna bada hai ye. It's almost 40% of the size of Pakistan. It's not small. It's mineral rich. It borders Iran and it borders Afghanistan. Plus it has access to the Arabian Sea. Plus mineral rich. बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है ये, छोटा नहीं है. At the time of independence in 1947, Baluchistan was not even supposed to be part of Pakistan. So I'm not going to get into those details. It was supposed to be a separate country. But anyway, this is Baluchistan and this is Sindh. ये दोनों आप अगर मिला दो ना, that's almost 50% of Pakistan and both are disputed. Both want independence. What happens and all of that I'm not getting into, but I just wanted to show you, just give you a visual of how big it is. The real story in Pakistan is Punjab. This is where everyone comes from. All the Munis, Musharraf, Sharif, whatever. 85% of the Pakistani army, administrative services, whatever you, like corporates, whatever. 85% comes from Punjab. That's Lahore. This is Amritsar. Lahore, Amritsar, 80 kilometers. That's the difference. 70-80 kilometers. So when drones were being launched, now it's because Amritsar is barely 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers away from this particular border. So that's Lahore. What I wanted to take you is to this. Can you see the purple patch here? And can you read it? It's called Northern Areas. That's POK. And so strangely, 2 countries with 2 political maps show the same place in their respective. So remember ये purple patch, ये वाला, ऊपर जो Northern Areas है. And I'll go back to our map. This part is exactly the same. Because 2 nations show the same portion in their political maps. And that's Pakistan occupied Kashmir. What I'm going to show you is the true picture of Kashmir today, at least as we speak. What you see on that political map, what you see on the map, unfortunately, आज की डेट में हमारे पास उसका सिर्फ 60%. We only run 60% of Jammu and Kashmir today. And that's the white portion. The green portion is POK. And the red portion is Aksai Chin, which we lost to the Chinese in the 62 war. Now that I've said 62 war we lost, I also have to tell you, ये मेरी duty बनती है. This is the only war that the Indian army lost. And the more you read about it, you realize that this is not a military loss, it was a political loss. The Indian Air Force was asked not to fly, not to take part in the operations in 62. We had the best aircrafts, we did not participate. The Indian Navy was asked not to participate. And the soldiers who went to protect Aksai Chin, this is October, and it's minus 15, they were sent in summer clothes. So it's like 62 was a loss. We lost that. Very interestingly, the minute we lost the 62 war, in 63, Pakistan takes this land, जो खुद का है नहीं, technically they don't own it. They take this land and give it as a gift to China. And this land that you see is called the Shaksgam Valley. And the Shaksgam Valley is the source of the biggest amount of fresh water in the world. It has over 100 glaciers. 100 glaciers. 100 से अधिक ग्लेशियर है, फ्रेश वाटर का सोर्स है. शाक्सगाम वैली उन्होंने भेंट दे दिया. तुमने 62 का युद्ध जीता, ये लो तुम्हारे को सोर्स ऑफ वाटर. सो ये वाटर वॉर्स 60 से चले आ रहे हैं. ये आज का स्ट्रक्चर नहीं है. सो and the reason why I'm explaining this in a bit of detail is because Kashmir has been at the forefront of everything. So it's very important for us to understand ये हो क्या रहा है. And this bit that you see out here is Siachen. Today when I came in from the aircraft, this is a triangle. When I came in, we were flying at 35,000 feet, and as usual, the captain made an announcement. बाहर का तापमान minus 40 degrees है. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you this. At Siachen, the heights are 24,000 feet. Your soldiers operate in minus 30 to 35 degrees. That's a normal day for them. Normal day. And we've been at Siachen since 1984. So for 4 decades, India's been occupying Siachen. And it's true, nothing will ever grow there. But we occupy Siachen because this triangle overlooks Shaksgam and POK, which is why we are at Siachen, because it's the heights. On those heights, the Indian Army has oversight onto Shaksgam Valley, onto Karakoram, onto Gilgit-Baltistan, onto POK. It's something that the Indian Army will never ever give up. And so we operate at minus 35 degrees. A soldier who goes there to Siachen can only be allowed to be there for 3 months. And then to get back his sanity, they take about 1 year. Once they come back to the plains. Soldiers at Siachen don't die of bullets, they die of the weather. So, and now of course it's super, the equipment is just phenomenal. So obviously they're well trained, etc. But I just wanted to tell you where Siachen is, what its meaning is and why it's important. This is Galwan Valley. This is the place where we lost 20 soldiers on that night. And the reason we lost those soldiers is, can you see the red dot line out here? This is a highway that the present government has gone and constructed. And this highway allows access to Siachen from Ladakh. So logistics becomes very easy. You can give logistics, you can give food, you can give manpower, you can give ammunition through that construction of highways. And the Chinese don't like that. They don't want anyone coming in their direction. And so that resulted on that night, on that fateful night, in Galwan Valley, we lost 20 soldiers. They lost about 100. And that it has to be the most ferocious fight ever fought. So that's the end of Pakistan and no more talk. And I just spoke a little bit about Kashmir. From here onwards, and I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to really speed it up because it's important. Finally, it has to make money, or it has to make sense to you. This is our border with China. It's almost 3,500 kilometers. It's 3,500 kilometers with China, roughly 1,800 kilometers with Pakistan. But this is not the story. This is not the story. The story is this. Many times people ask me कि करण ये तूने slide उल्टा कर दिया है by mistake. मैंने कहा ना, ये mistake नहीं है, ये reality है. If you look at India inverted, your perspective will change, because you will realize that to control the world, you have to control the sea. The sea and the oceans are 70%, 65% of planet Earth is oceans. You control the ocean, you control the world. So अपने को ये तो कंट्रोल करना ही है, ये चाइना का बॉर्डर और ये पाकिस्तान का बॉर्डर, ये तो है ही है. But if you don't control the seas, then we are in trouble. And the reason why I say that is because 70% of global trade happens on the seas. I've just taken a very small example of an oil tanker which needs oil in China, let's say Guangzhou. It leaves from Guangzhou and goes to Kuwait to take oil. Oil is the lifeline of any country, including China. This red line is the route it will take to kind of go and pick up oil and come back. ये red line है जो, ये GPS मान लो आप. ये red line में ना 2 जगह वो oil tanker फंस सकता है. One is Malacca Straits. This is like the traffic jam king of the world. यहाँ पे एक एक शिप निकलने में 25 दिन लग जाते हैं, but बहुत ट्रैफिक रहता है यहाँ पे. And second, the oil tanker that China sent to get oil can also get stuck here. In a conflict, Indian Navy can block out all trade. So the Chinese planners have been thinking for decades कि बॉस अगर अपने लाइफलाइन ही ऑयल है और दो जगह हमारा ऑयल अटक सकता है तो फिर अपने को ये रेड लाइन नहीं चलेगा. So they want a green line. And now everything I'm talking about is not fantasy. So they said अपने को green line चाहिए. तो एक green line यहाँ क्यों ना बना दें? So what they've done is they've created a port out here, that's Gwadar, through Balochistan, taken gas pipelines all the way through Pakistan, which end at Gilgit-Baltistan, which is POK. And this is called the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So what that corridor has done, it's up and running. It has reduced travel time by, from 13,000 kilometers, it's come down to 2,000 kilometers. And days may, 45 days has become 10 days. 1/3 reduction. And it's a $50 billion investment. So what I'm just trying to tell you is that protecting CPEC is super critical for the Chinese because it's a $50 billion investment with $500 billion of returns because of 1/3 reduction in cost. And keeping India engaged in Kashmir is the only way. नहीं तो हम बोलेंगे गिलगिट दे दो, बाल्टिस्तान दे दो, बलूचिस्तान को फ्री करो. It runs through all of that. They don't have a choice but to keep us busy. We don't have a choice but to ask for it back. And I'm just going to last 5 minutes of mine. I'm going to focus on something which is quite important for us and probably India's number one concern. This is a Moody's research report. It was launched, I think, in 2013. It has 20-year data from 1993 to 2014, and it covered terror attacks in India. Take a guess of how many attacks we've had in 20 years till 2013. इसमें पंजाब terrorism नहीं है. So while you take a guess, I'm going to take a sip of water. Any guess of how many terror attacks we've had in 20 years? Wild guess, चलेगा. एक नंबर बस सब नंबर वाले हैं यहाँ पे. Think big.
Let's get it. How about that?
6,024. 6,024 terror attacks this country has faced from 1993 to 2013. It does not include Punjab terrorism and does not include Naxalwadi. So clearly this country has come under a serious attack, one attack a day. And then they realized that one attack a day takes a year of data. India faced 6,024 attacks. Okay, that's my cue. That's a lot. It started with Kanishka, Mumbai. मतलब लिस्ट अनगिनत है. यहाँ पे जितने भी लोग हैं ना यहाँ पे ये मेरा आपसे वादा है, अनफॉर्चुनेट वादा है, बट आप कोई भी शहर से होगे, it has come under a terror attack. You can be from any city from this country. And so the list is endless. And that's why I say it's not about the markets, it's about the country first. And why do I say that? Because if you don't get security right, what will happen is this. Terrorism has cost you and me at least minimum 0.75% GDP loss every year compounded for 20 years. So Moody की research में ये पता किया उन्होंने कि बॉस ये जो terrorism होता है किसी देश पे उसका cost क्या है? Has to be a cost. When you suffer 6,000 terror attacks, they realized that one large terror attack takes away 0.75% GDP growth in that year and 2% investment growth in that year. यानी कि फिर फिरंगी नहीं आएगा, growth नहीं हो. कश्मीर में क्या हुआ है अभी? कोई नहीं जा रहा है. That economy is dropped. Obviously, it will have some impact on India. Imagine if Bombay was attacked relentlessly or Delhi. Can you imagine 20 years, 0.75% loss? ये मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, ये research है. So this country till 2013 has had a 0.75 to almost 0.9% GDP loss compounded. In my opinion, we've lost 1/3 of an economy to terrorism. That's how big it is. And that's why you and me are direct victims of terrorism. But 2014 to 2025, we've not had a single terror attack in any city except for 100 kilometers radius of South Kashmir. So when that has happened, see what has happened to the country. फिरंगी आ रहा है, FDI आ रहा है, लोग नौकरी दे रहे हैं, Foxconn आ रहा है, Apple phone बन रहा है, capital markets all time high पे हैं. So the minute you reverse it, you've seen the results in front of you. And that's why I'm constantly saying this again and again, that if you're not a safe and secure nation, you cannot be a safe and secure economy. But when you become a safe and secure nation, this is the golden period then for India, because this is the only country in the world which offers 30-35 sectors. And if you look at it, only the US does that. So if you do not invest in India, then we have a problem. I'm just going to end by one last slide. This is the new normal. So when people ask me, अभी क्या होगा? मैं बोलता हूँ अब ये होगा. अगली बारी, this is the new doctrine. A terror attack will now be considered an act of war. India will not tolerate nuclear blackmail. Any regime will not be differentiated. But what I can assure you, this is turning out to be a safe and secure nation. Trust the capital markets, money to be made. Keep an eye out on fixed income. Jai Hind, and see you soon.